Sometimes it can feel like a virus has infected your mind and won't let you be. It's always there, nagging in the back of your head. It's like static, self-doubt, just white noise like an old TV, just tearing you apart. I've recorded this a few times now, and I've been trying to figure out how to properly say what's in my head and how to express it. And that's not been an easy thing to do. The thoughts you've seen in the beginning there are thoughts that came down on me recently, like a ton of bricks. I was ready to shutter my channel, delete social media, and just call it a wash, like I've done so many times before. I had this experience once before, and I didn't have a name for it. And yeah, I have my thoughts written down on a notepad file, because if I don't, I'll meander and kind of ramble with my thoughts, and it'll be this just chaos, and I don't want it to be that. But the experiences I had before, I kind of put it down to me being a coward and self-confidence, which in a way is a self-confidence thing. But I had the knowledge and I was trained for what I was doing, yet I could not perform. There was this nag in the back of my head that just would not let me pull through and do something that I was honestly passionate about. I was surrounded by experts in the field that were years and years and years of experience, near retirement age, said I always complimenting me, but I never really took it seriously. I never believed it. You know, you're good at it, you're a natural. I had teachers when I was being trained, so you're going to teach this? Just because I knew the material so well. I was passionate about it. I wanted to do it. I immersed myself in it as much as I could. It was automotive. And I worked for Cadillac, and I dropped out of it. There were a number of reasons I dropped out of it. I don't agree with the flat rate pay system, but on top of it, I just did not trust myself. And I only had one comeback in like a 2.5 year period, but everybody that was pushing me, saying I was good at it, I just thought of them as liars, you know? I had a lot going on at the time, and I was likely suffering from a level of depression. And I'm not going to go into any of that stuff because honestly, I don't want to talk about it on camera. It's nobody's business but my own. And I was drinking a little more at the time than I should have been, questioning everything. And yeah, I left the job. I left being an automotive tech, which was something I wanted to do for years. I finally dived into it. A little late. I didn't get into it until I was like 26 or 27, I think. But, you know, I'm 35. I'm going to be 35 in June now. So I jumped into it a little late. I had financial responsibilities I couldn't keep up with and whatnot because of the flat rate pay system. But I also didn't have the confidence, and I thought I was just being a timid, cowardice little asshat. Because I couldn't take a single step without second guessing myself. Who am I to say I did all the proper diagnosis? I did everything proper for the diagnosis to make sure that, yes, I can say with confidence that this is the part that needs repaired, there needs to be replaced, and then I put it in the car, and then it just doesn't. And then, like, did I do it right? Am I going to kill a family today? And yes, I'm going to get to art. This has to do with art. It does. But I've experienced this before in my life. Not just now. Well, recently, I've kind of gotten through this bout of it. But I've seen people talking about it. I've seen it come up in videos on Twitter and Instagram, and it never really clicked until recently when I got back into art. But not as I was getting back into art. When I decided I wanted to make a channel for it and, you know, try and build some sort of social following so that I could accomplish some other goals I had when I was a teenager, dreaming of being like a cartoonist or a comic book person or an illustrator, I should say, a comic book person. I want to be a comic book person when I grow up. And something happened recently where it kind of slapped me to scramble to do some things I had been putting off with my channel, and that was the Pablo review, which is already up on the channel. And since then, I've done a Winsor Newton Pro Market review. I've done a 2 time lapses, and I've done I'm working on a Prismacolor review. That's it. I'm working on a Prismacolor review. It's almost done. Almost done. And I always said I didn't have the time to do it, but it was also this nag in the back of my head, you know. And I was working on that Pablo review. I started back in November, and I had been pulled away from it, and I always said I didn't have the time for it. But I always had this voice in the back of my head: who the hell am I to give my opinion on this matter? You're wrong. You're a fucking fraud. You don't deserve to, put your opinion out there. There's people who are more deserving of the setup you have to be able to hop online and make videos on it, who know better what they're doing. And just that was always there, just chipping away at my confidence, driving me fucking nuts. And I internalized it, as I always do, and then I started to break down a little bit. And it fucking clicked. So I started looking up imposter syndrome. And it lines up. I have sabotaged myself and given into these thoughts more fucking times than I would like to admit. I fall victim to my own bullshit, not knowing what it is, but I finally know now. And there's a level of empowerment to that. And what really helped, spark me, I started talking about it on Twitter and talking to my sweetheart about it. And then I decided to look it up. Like, not just, it could be this, and then left wondering, and like, how do I resolve it? How do I get through it? And blah, 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 blah. And like, the nonsense, the static noise that it creates in your own head. I decided to run into it head first and just do it like I do everything. And I found out that it's not an officially recognized mental disorder according to the American Psychological Association, the APA. I read, stuff on their website about it, and it's instead believed to be heavily linked to anxiety and depression. When I was working at Cadillac as a mechanic, and I left there when I was having all these thoughts, among other reasons, it was depression. I'm pretty sure it was depression. I was not happy at that point in my life. I was very, that's it. And it was an anxiety. I think I have a level of that now because there's a lot going on. I'm working on my home. I'm trying to do the YouTube channel. I have a 1-year-old, and I am I'm wearing a lot of different hats. I'm taking on a lot of different things all at the same time. Trying to be the best boyfriend, significant other, and whatnot that I can be a good father, repair the home, repair the cars because they're starting to develop problems, which I'm more than capable of taking care of, but the problem's still there, the time's not there, and do a YouTube and this, that, and the other. And I think that's creating some level of anxiety, which may be contributing to the imposter syndrome. Like, I sit down to do art and then my head starts going and it's like, I should be doing something else, I should be doing something else, I should be doing something else. And then you feel guilty about what you're doing, and then you start putting it down. And and what's funny about imposter syndrome, when it's been known about since the 60s or 70s, I forget about when they said it was known about, but when they started to really recognize it as something. It's not recognized as a mental disorder, but it is recognized. And at one point it was believed to have only affected women, but more recent studies have shown that it can affect anyone, but disproportionately affects females and minorities, because there's always some level of you feel like the odd man out. And for me at Cadillac, that was, I'm almost 30 and I'm just getting into automotive, just buying the stuff for this. And, a lot of you have like an official history in automotive, like you've been at garages and everything. Like, I've been doing it in my backyard. But that's not a real, that's, it's not technical. I guess it is, because I needed the knowledge to do it. I needed the ability and the skill to do it. I worked for a maintenance and fabrication shop for a couple years. But I didn't have the history that these people had. And it was fucking intimidating. And there's childhood triggers that line up for me that they believe can contribute to it. Pressure to achieve, being praised but sharply put down at the same time. Just, that's a great job, but you fucking did this wrong and you're an idiot for it. Not that I was ever told I was an idiot, but that sharp contrast between praise and you fucked up at the same time was always there. Not that I'm blaming my parents, but because I've made my own mistakes and I've taken responsibility for them. But then, being a perfectionist, I am a fucking perfectionist. That was part of the reason I left Cadillac, was because I cannot, a torque-yielding bolt needs to be replaced. And if the parts department didn't have it, a lot of people would just put the old one back in, and I wouldn't do that. I was unwilling to do that. I had to do shit by the book. I was a perfectionist. It's got to be right. It's got to be right. It's got to be right. Believing I can do everything on my own. I want to take on everything on my own. I don't need nobody's help. I'm fiercely independent. I've always been that way. And when I'm not completely independent, it drives me nuts. I probably sound like an absolute loon sitting here talking about this, but the way, at least the way I'm talking about it, but I find this, I don't know, some level of, it helps. And that's the thing. Talk about it. Don't compartmentalize it. Don't hold it in. If you are struggling with something, just talk about it. And I know imposter syndrome probably sounds like, oh, that whiny little liberal person doesn't like dealing with the blah, blah, blah. They don't have the strength to pull through it, blah, blah. Just screw off. Mental illness is real, and not all mental illness, because imposter syndrome is not mental illness. It can be triggered by a mental illness. But I found solace and the ability to pull through and actually finish the review I was doing and put it out, and not completely implode everything I'm trying to do here by talking about it. And when you talk about something, it helps you put your thoughts together and realize things you might not have realized otherwise. And maybe something will dawn on you that didn't dawn on you before. And then, you either pull through it, or you seek help, because some things you need medication for. It's just, there's no anxiety, there's medication for that. Depression, there's medication for that. And if you need it, a doctor or someone in that field who is a professional can help you get through it and improve the quality of your life. And I've always acknowledged that I've had some level of something or another, but I've always been able to not let it completely destroy me that I knew of until I realized that this thing called imposter syndrome, which I look at it and I'm like, that is me to a T, and I self-destruct every time it happens, could be related to X, Y, and Z. And I'm just saying, just talk, at the very least, talk to someone. Don't hold this shit in. It can ruin you. It can ruin your life. It can hold you back. It can really to your detriment. That's, I guess that's all I have to say. But I just wanted to say this, and I'm going to put it out there, and if someone watches this, if you're watching this, and you decide to talk to someone, do yourself that favor. If you're struggling with something, just talk to someone. Have a good one.